Okay.
Hello?
Ellen, are you there? Yeah, I'm listening.
Okay, I said in the message I sent, I resigned from my job. On my CV,
Yeah.
it shows I'm actually working.
Okay.
The contract is due to be renewed this April, and I opted not to renew because of my travel.
Okay.
The CV I'm going to submit at the embassy, do I state that I resigned in January, or I should state that, okay, I was actively working up until April when my contract elapsed? So I'm kind of
Yeah, I think
confused.
I have an idea of what you're trying to ask me. First things first, your CV is always the last thing we do for visa application. So we need to complete your online application first before we do your CV. So the information we've provided on your online application, that means we've seen documents that is backing that information up, and that is what we are going to now use to modify your CV. So in your own case now, if you have resigned, that means you've not been collecting salary. So it will be a tricky one when you're submitting your bank statement to say, I've been working, I resigned in April, when there's no salary coming in.
No. What happened is I spoke with my HR about the whole process. They've actually been paying me. Do you get? So
Okay.
I thought they've not paid this month, but they paid me last month. Do you
Okay.
get?
So they're gonna keep paying you till then, Abby, till when you apply.
Till I think this month, it would end this month.
It will end this month. Okay, that's fine. So it's okay then. Your CV can still show that you're working with them. Yeah, so.
All right.
Okay. Okay, so Mr. I think Franklin wanted to ask a question.
Yes, I wanted to ask a question.
Okay.
So let's say I have been collecting my salary and there's a transaction history and everything, but now I've not been saving it up for my tuition and all that.
Yeah.
And I want to pay my tuition and get proof of funds. What do I do in this instance? I have the money.
Where did the money come from?
So I sourced it from probably maybe my relative, my uncle gives me the money, a bulk of money to do it. So how do I explain this?
Okay, so in that case, you are using sponsors. So now we are back to how is your sponsor related to you?
Okay.
So establish how you're related to your sponsor. So if somebody is even doing that, you're doing it as if the person gave you a gift, Sabi, towards your academic.
Yeah, a grant, yes.
Yeah, okay. So even at that, the person is still your sponsor. The person comes on record as your sponsor. The thing about Ireland is that you cannot have more than one or two. I think you can only have like max of 3. But when you apply for your visa, you can only have 2 sponsors on the online application portal. So if you're sourcing for funds from family and friends, I would say you try to limit it to 2 people. And those 2 people will be, they are covering tuition and then they are covering living expenses as well. However, because they are now on record as your sponsor, the same document you would present, they would need to present as well. What are they doing? Their means of livelihood. Are they in a paid employment? Do they own their own business? If they're in a paid employment, they will need to present a letter from their employer. They will need to present their 6 months pay slips. And they probably would need to include their 6 months salary account in there as well. If they own a business, they would need to present their CAC certificate, their director's page, or any means of other registration, depending on what kind of business it is. For I know for schools don't get CAC certificate. I know they have this thing from Ministry of Education or so. So depending on the kind of business the person is running, they will be required to prove proof of how their business.
Okay.
Okay.
Even me, I won't hire yourself. But they come.
Madam Adedoyin, can you please mute yourself? Thank you. So Franklin, I don't know, do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yes, I do. So for example, does the person have to, that means the person has to still show in the transaction how the money,
and they need to show how they're related to you. Yeah.
Okay, so let's assume it's not is an uncle twice removed, a distant uncle. Does that still suffice?
How distant are we talking about?
Okay, my granddad's sister son.
It's becoming
So
like,
that's a big problem.
okay. Your granddad. Okay.
Yes, the sister to my
The sister to your granddad. Is granddad still alive?
No, they're both dead.
Because they both need to show proof that your dad, okay, your granddad from your father's side or maternal side, which one?
From paternal side.
From paternal side, okay. So that means you have carried the name of Baba all through. For his own sister would have changed name. That means your sponsor's mother has changed name.
Yes.
So how do we now establish proof? Do you understand?
Yes.
So it becomes tricky because assuming like, okay, let's say your dad has a sister now and your dad's sister's daughter or son wants to be the one to sponsor you. Your dad, if he has his own birth certificate and if the sister has their own birth certificate, it will show that they both share the same parents.
Okay.
Do you understand? But now his granddad, that's like a totally different generation.
Okay.
So it will be a little bit tricky in that case. And even education bond will not help in this regard.
Okay.
Hello, Ma, please, I have a question in regards to that.
Hold on, please. Who am I, Mr. Adedoyin? Please hold on. If I answer question, we will not finish this session. Cynthia, I'm not going to take your question now. Teresa, can I please answer your question before I move on? And then I'll take Mr. Adedoyin. And then we now continue. And then at the end, we can now do question and answers, please. Teresa?
Hello, Ma.
Yes, ma. Good evening, Danny.
Sorry to draw us back. Please, I would like to just ask a question to clarify.
Okay.
If you would be using a sponsor, would you still require to? Would you still need to get your employment slip and reference from your human resource at the place of your work?
Yes. So,
okay, please, I'd like to ask, what's the purpose of that?
Let me explain why you need all these employment thing. Because the Irish application requires that you don't have a gap year. If you have a gap year, there should be an explanation for it. So gap year means anytime between when you finished your uni, your NYSC till date is a gap year. So you need to be able to explain. So for some people, what fills in their gap year is their business that they have been running. For some people, it is a paid employment. So in your own case now, I'm assuming you're in a paid employment.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so that means you need a proof from your HR. You need your pay slip establishing that, oh, it's not just, I've just not just put a company name there, I'm working with them. There's a proof that shows that I'm actually working with that organization. And that's a genuine proof of your gap year.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Ms. Adedoyin.
Okay, ma, sorry to draw you back. I want to ask concerning the sponsorship.
Okay.
You once mentioned that we can have two sponsors.
Yeah.
Then a situation whereby you are having your mom and your fiance. So how does the documentation run like? Is it that a proof of fund will be coming from both ends, or how do we go about that?
It depends on how you want to sort yourself out. Who is paying tuition? We will be showing your proof of fund. Do you understand? Okay. And then if it's a fiance, I don't know how you want to establish that relationship because you're not legally married yet. So if it's Canadian embassy, they usually request for charts. The person visited you. Is the person in Nigeria or abroad?
Yeah, abroad.
Abroad, okay. So if the person has come down, maybe since you've been dating, let's assume you've been dating like 2017 till date now. So if he's abroad, how many times has he visited? Do you have pictures together? A proof of conversation, maybe your WhatsApp messages, emails, and all that. So probably that's what you're going to use. However, a better way to go about it would be, I don't know what the situation is. I think you would need to speak to me privately about it so that I don't shoot myself in the foot with this explanation. But I've had a situation where someone has, I had a similar situation last year. So what the person did is, the fiance is in Ireland. So what he did was, the girlfriend's mom had a business. So they have a very luxury brand business. So what the guy did was to send funds to the mother of the girl as if he's patronizing them. So they were able to show that money as if it was a profit that came from the business she's running. And so from funds, she was able to pay the tuition fee and show the balance as a proof of funds. So the guy was not even on record at all, because it's very hard to establish fiancé because you're not married. Assuming you are married, there's a marriage certificate. But when you're not married, it's just like, okay, we are just dating. And you can date, it doesn't mean that you go to Ireland. And so it becomes very tricky and messy, because now people have spouse in Ireland, they are trying to bring their spouse from Nigeria. And people don't want to wait for that spousal visa that might take up to 2 years before it's granted. So, and then the embassy too has realized that people are trying to bring their partners to come in through education. And you're not allowed to get pregnant on a master's program or a study permit in Ireland anyways. So I think they will be scrutinizing the application rigorously than other applications. So you need to be very strategic about how you want your funds to be. Okay. Then.
Okay, I have a question.
Okay.
My dad is my sponsor. Does he need to move the proof of funds to my account, like living expense, or everything should be in his account?
Everything can be in his account. It doesn't make a difference. Have you paid your tuition in full?
I'm actually waiting for my Form A to do that.
Oh, okay. So it all depends on what the situation is with your sponsor. If he has a business, so far he has the documents proving and backing the money that comes into his account. If he's in a paid employment, so far he has the employment reference, pay slips and all that. So it doesn't make a difference since he's closely related to you. There's no reason to be moving funds up and down. So unless he's someone that transacts a lot. So for, I know, like most business people, especially our brother from the East, I know they don't like looking at money in their accounts. So if it's that person that does like very like continuous business and he has to run on cash and all that, you can say because
he has a construction company, so it's always
so they are
like
always putting money into
transactions with the company account,
okay.
Because it's a company
account.
Yes.
Oh, okay, so if that's the case, he can move the funds to you, but he still has to have something left in his own account as well, or the corporate account. So.
Hello.
I'm not going to do any more questions for now. Who is this? Hello. Hello. Hold on. Let me do my training, please. That'll be my brief. So that we will do question and answer at the end. Please. Can you bear with me? If we do question and answer, I will not leave here today. Okay. So if anybody has studied outside Nigeria and your results are not in English, it will need to be translated. If you have a sponsor that is abroad and they don't live in an English-speaking country, their bank statement or any supporting document they are sending to you will need to be translated as well. So we've had situation of people that have sponsors in Germany, their bank statements have to be translated. So, okay. So here is saying, like I said earlier, letters submitted by business or company or any other organization should be on an official letter-headed paper. They must also provide full contact details that can be verified. I think I've mentioned that earlier as well. Okay, so full postal address, name of the contact, their position in the organization, their phone number, preferably a landline, and a website and a valid email address. So for example now, for the email address, it cannot be like somebody's working with NNPC and is my name, I'm now putting ibukun@hotmail.com. No, it has to be ibukun@nnpc.ng or something like that for that to be verifiable. So that would be a much more acceptable email correspondence that the visa office will appreciate. Okay. So for the application summary documents, this is going back to AVAT. This is this one. This is what they mean. By the time we're done with this one, you have an application summary. at the end that you need to print and include in your application. Okay, so your application letter is we call it a statement of purpose for visa application process. So we have a template that we will share with you as soon as, once you're done with your payment, if you have paid your tuition and you have gotten a confirmation receipt, kindly request for that, and then we'll send that to you and we'll start preparing towards your visa application. So because the visa office does not do interviews, this document is a vital part of you explaining yourself as to the reason why you're going to Ireland. And this document can go as between, depending on your case, sometimes 4 pages, sometimes it might end up being 30 pages. So this is your application that the visa office will walk through along with your supporting documents. So we have a template for this. Once you've paid your tuition in full and you've gotten confirmation from the school, then we're ready for visa application, and then I will draft this out. So this, what I'm giving Eileen for this one is not what I will give Teresa for this, because you guys will have different circumstances. So I write one based on the circumstances of the students, and we have highlights that we have to follow. So reason you want to travel to Ireland, dates you plan to arrive in Ireland. This is very vague. By the time you get the template we're sending to you, it would show you comprehensively what needs to go into your application and all that. What they've not mentioned here is explanation of lump sum, which is a very, very vital part of your application as well. So for any lump sum coming into your account, you need to have a proof and an explanation for the money and a proof of the money. 2 passport photographs. Okay. Your current passport and a full copy of all previous passports. So this one is, okay, so your current passport must be valid for at least 12 months after your proposed date of arrival in Ireland. So that means if you're going in September now, you should have a passport that is still valid. At the time when you're applying for your visa, your passport preferably should still be valid till next year, August. So if you have a passport that is expiring soon, if you have a passport that will expire by December, it's preferably that you are renewing your passport before you apply for the visa. For full copies of all your previous passports, when you're submitting your application, the current passport, we are required to make copies of all the 32 or 64 pages on that current passport, together with your original passport. You'll be submitting your original passport, a photocopy set of all the pages on your current passport as well. All the previous passports you've ever had, it is important that you have them. The visa office will collect at least 2 of the old passports from you, and then photocopies of all the pages of those previous passports as well is required. If however you've missed one or you lost one, there should be a police report and preferably a data page of such a passport that was lost and the passport number. So if you have the passport, if you have the data page of the lost passport, it will already carry your passport number. So the passport number is what you would use to get a police report for the lost or misplaced passports. So your evidence that you're enrolled on a private funded program, that means your offer letter, the confirmation. So you've been accepted and enrolled on the program. Give details of the course you'll be studying, state the amount of fees payable for your course, state the amount that you have paid, state if applicable that the college has taken out medical insurance on your behalf. Okay, so here, let me just say it simply. You need your offer letter will be submitted. Depending on the school you're going to. After you make your tuition payments, some will send your receipt of payments, and then they will send an updated offer letter again. So it varies by the school. Some schools will only send that, oh, we can confirm that you have gotten your payments. Some schools will issue a new letter. It will say that, oh, this is how much you have paid, and blah, 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 blah. So I'm going to make an example now. I don't think I have anybody going to Griffith in this meeting today. For NCI has given you offer letter. If you have a scholarship, your offer letter carries a discount or scholarship. Your offer letter carries how much discount or scholarship you have. When you make your tuition payments, they will send you a confirmation of payment receipts, and that is it. You're fine and good to go. However, for Griffith will send you, they call it invitation IVT. invitation letter or something like that. That's what they call it. So that's another comprehensive letter, like a supporting document for your visa application. So it will state that, oh, this person is now fully enrolled on this program, or they have made a full payment on their tuition, blah, 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 blah. So it's always like 3 or 4 pages that they will send. So if you have a friend going to Griffith and you are going to NCR and you got 2 different things, it's still the same thing. So it varies, the document you are getting from the school varies. If you are going to University of Limerick, for example, if you have paid your tuition in full, the school will send your confirmation of payments. If you have not paid your tuition in full, they will only acknowledge your receipt, the money you have paid to them, and they will tell you to request for another letter from them. So it's 2 different things that you are getting from University of Limerick now. It's the same school, but the amount you have paid will determine what you are getting from them. So that's it for that one. So every letter you get definitely will carry the cost you're studying and the amount you've paid, the amount your tuition fee is, and the amount you've paid. So usually before, Griffith, for example, has always included medical insurance in their own tuition fee. Now it's no longer included. Most schools don't include it. Very few schools include medical insurance in their tuition fee. So if that is included, because most times at the time when Griffith was doing it, the visa office often don't see that part. I don't know, they don't read that letter comprehensively that it's been provided by the school. So people were being refused. So I think that was why they removed it from their own. So now you probably will need to get your own Medicover individually. The Medicover, if you're going for a 1-year program, is 150 to 160, I think, depending on the school. So this is it. I'm going for an academic program for a 1 year or less. I'm on an academic program for more than 1 year. So you select the one. For people going for masters, yours is a 1-year program. So you select the one that applies to you. Once again, the website is Study and Protect, and that's where you get your medical insurance. Your Naira card will not work for these. If you have a dollar card, a domiciliary account card, it would work for this because the amount is above the $20 limit they have placed on the Naira card now. So moving forward, so I think I've covered this briefly a few minutes ago. So evidence accounting for any gaps in your education history. So sometimes some of us finished SSC in year 2000, but we are unable to get into school until 2004. So that's a gap year. You need to be able to explain what have you been doing. Sometimes you might just, it's as easy as just saying, oh, I was looking for admission, I was writing JAMB, and JAMB was jamming me. It's very, very easy. I was looking for trying to secure an admission and all that. And then I've seen a situation where people start from a school and they have to leave. So mostly maybe because of ASU strike. You see someone has started maybe in FUTA, they did 1 year diploma, and then they had to leave. Maybe there was a gap, maybe they might have a gap year of 6 months or so, and then they finished, they started again at Covenant or Babcock. So just be able to provide evidence. Don't omit anything. Right from after you finish your secondary school, that you need to explain every gap year that you have. So this includes NYSC. If you have done youth service, you need to present your youth service certificates. If you skip the NYSC and you have an exemption letter, it is important that you are presenting that as well. If you are struggling, if you have a gap year that I couldn't secure a job after NYSC, so far you have something you've been doing, even if it's learning a trade, even if it's volunteering somewhere. So just add it, okay, maybe when I finished my NYSC, I was searching for jobs and volunteering as probably something related to the course you want to go and study, or something related to the course you have studied before. And it might actually be something, a new skill set entirely, but it's important that there's an explanation for every gap year. So a gap year is anything above 6 months is a gap year. A gap year rather. So evidence of fee payments. So it's important that you are providing your telex. So most times people feel like they don't have pay tuition. This is not UK, this is the Republic of Ireland. It's 2 different countries. Mostly I have this challenge with parents. When you have parents that have studied, sent children to the UK severally, it's very challenging explaining to them why they need to present some documents to the Republic of Ireland. So it's very important that you have your telex. So if you have paid directly to your school, your telex is required as part of your evidence of payment. If you have paid using TransferMate, the telex you got, the TransferMate information you got, everything should be on record and should be presented as well. Some schools actually go as far as sending their own telex when they receive the payment from at their own end. You can include that as well. It varies by the school. Some schools don't send it, some schools send it, but it doesn't add to it. The most important thing that you need to present is the one you have used to initiate your payments from Nigeria. Evidence that you have the academic ability to follow your chosen course. So this one is mostly it's mostly a reference letter. So your results, definitely you are presenting your transcript and certificates. Don't let me forget that. So your O-level certificates, if you have OND and HND, transcript and certificates. If you have a BSc, transcript and certificates is required. If you're going for, I have someone that did psychology and he has developed himself over the years as a cybersecurity personnel. So he has done some IT certifications. So all those things have to be on record as well. You need to print them. And you don't need to go to a very big school. Even if you have done Coursera, the certificate you got from that course, if you have done Udemy, if you have done the program on Udemy, the certificate you got from that course as well is important. The evidence of English is important. I know schools have not asked, most schools did not ask for this. Very few schools like DBS do ask for it, but most schools don't ask for English tests. However, for visa application, it is important that you're presenting it. So if you have an IELTS at the time when you're applying for a visa that is not more than 2 years, it is valid. If you have a TOEFL, it is valid. IELTS is divided into like 3 or 4 categories. You have academic IELTS, you have the general IELTS, you have the UKVI IELTS, you have life skills and all that. So even if you have a general IELTS is acceptable, academic IELTS is acceptable, UKVI IELTS is acceptable, TOEFL is acceptable, Pearson Test of English, PTE is accepted, and then the easiest one is Duolingo. So you don't really have to go stress yourself, just go for Duolingo English test. They have the practice one, you can sign up. Once you sign up, you have access to test your skills. You have test questions and all that, and then you can write your exam in the comfort of your house. So this costs just $50. I don't know if it has increased, but it is $50 for you to do that. It is important that when you are writing these tests, that you have very good internet. If your face moves like this from your webcam, disqualified. And you can only try, I think, 2 or 3 times. That's all the maximum you have to try before you have to make another payment again. So it's good that you practice way ahead so that you don't have to be moving around. That they will not be thinking maybe you are trying to cheat or maybe somebody is talking to you or something like that. So try to find time for yourself. Practice the questions. It's very easy. And for visa, you only need to have like 85 or 90 for your visa. That is all you need. And so far you have a credit in English, I think you will do well. It's not something that is very complicated. Finances, you must show that you have enough proof to support your stay in Ireland. This should be without recourse to public funds or reliance on casual employment. So you are allowed to work 20 hours during time period. Time period is your academic period, your academic calendar period. So time period is when we are actively going to school. So you're only allowed to work 20 hours during that period. When they have holidays, and I'm not talking like you have a bank holiday or like Monday is free now, there's a general public holiday in Ireland on Monday, no, and you go and do 40 hours, no, that's not acceptable. That's still within a time period. So what am I saying? Your holidays will be maybe December holiday, maybe when you want long vacations, mostly anything that is between a month and 2 months is a long vacation. So you're allowed to work 40 hours during that during holiday periods. So they discourage them. They don't really like when you say, I think I have someone here, he probably is listening to me today. He told me that no, he doesn't need to show the balance on institution now. because he's going there, he can be working when he gets there. So that's not the visa, that's not a language the visa office wants to hear. You need to show that you have access to the funds. And like I said earlier, the most important thing for Ireland is have proof for the funds you're showing. It doesn't mean you're carrying all these funds to Ireland. Nobody goes, if you all have these 10 million, 8 million, you probably will not be running around now. Nobody